Hi guys, this is Jay from Expletive bringing you update number 5 for the Exo One Kickstarter, and today I'm going to run you through the procedural generation system I'm using in Unity. And if you're not sort of up to date on the lingo for game development, procedural generation is essentially a sort of the computer kind of helps you generate content, whether that's images or models or, in my case, height field maps. And a very simple example of a procedural generated texture or image that I use for these terrains is just simple noise, which I guess you could imagine being or looking a lot like noise that you see on a television screen. You know, if you sort of tune your channel on the TV to the wrong thing, it kind of looks like this. And it's essentially creating clouds, like a height field, black and white clouds where white is high altitude and black is low altitude, and that's exactly kind of what I've used for the entire game, where you're supposed to kind of come from the top of a hill and slide down to the bottom and then like release in low gravity and go flying off of another hillside. So if I wanted, we could just make this one node could be an entire planet. It would be a boring planet, but that's something we could do, and I just thought I would essentially do that and sort of show you how that works. In the background here is the first planet. It's a top level view of the first planet, and what we have is, if you're familiar with the term of a biome, for example, this could be ice or tundra, and then maybe this could be lava, and then this could be grassy, flatlands or something like that, and then using that noise texture that I showed you before, or that noise image, and some ways to separate the different values in that image, the procedural generation system will put different biomes in different spots. So you can actually see two different biomes in this here. So we've got this lower stuff with some sand dunes in it, and then some of this icy stuff on the right. And if I just preview that on the train, you can see there the green is the snowy ice kind of stuff, and the red is the sand dune, the low sand dune stuff. And then even like the way these two blend together can be controlled with quite a lot of detail if you want to. So what I'm going to do is just kind of turn everything off here and then just create a new biome, and we're just going to tell this to only look at this one biome and not worry about everything else here. So I'm just, for the purposes of this video, just going to do that. So at the moment you can see we're just pure flat land, and we'll put that noise texture back in, and then this height output here essentially tells the system to use this noise to to place high areas where it's white in this map, or green in the preview. So white equals green and red equals black. And you can see this would be kind of very hard to travel over in the game if we left it this way. But in super simple terms exactly how the procedural generation system is working. And essentially, as you travel along, new sections are generated, and this is the sort of the big draw for procedural generation, is that I don't have to create all of this terrain. The computer will sort of create it as we travel across the planet, and that'll never stop. So we'll just keep going forever and ever, and it'll keep generating new stuff. Obviously, you know, how different does this area here look compared to this? Sort of not very different. And if you did some bad or lazy procedural generation, you could leave it this way and just have some super boring repeating terrain, and you could bore your players to death very quickly. But thankfully, with this system, you can make it as simple or complex as you want. This example being obviously the simplest version. So I'll just to illustrate that point, I'll just start creating some variation so you can see what I mean, and might just fly around on it in game quickly to end up. So yeah, to begin with, this detail here creates some ridiculous bumps. So this is the kind of thing that we want to be traveling over, these kind of hills. There's a lot of other shapes you can use as well that are kind of fun to move across, which I'll also show you. So in this example though, we're gonna kind of create these size hills. And then we're going to blend this with another type of noise, which is called Voronoi. And this, as you'll soon see, is kind of looks like this. And again, this is like a mathematical, like this other noise here, it's a mathematical mathematical sort of generated image, and you can actually check out, if you're really curious, you can look up Voronoi, and there's algorithms that sort of show you how this sort of thing is created. And for this, there's like lots of different types of the same thing. This is all the same sort of algorithm, but with variations. Some of them are more suited to what I'm doing than others. So we'll just stick with this organic one, and we just need to make sure that's the kind of the proper height. So you can see these look a little bit more like mountains, and unlike the rolling hills, you kind of, if you're flying through the air, you're going to be punished a bit more if you land on the wrong kind of side of a hill. But these look very cool. I think they can look pretty alien, with the right kinds of texture maps applied. So now that we've got that, might make the forms just a little bit bigger, and then we essentially blend these two together using this blend node. And to define where they blend together and how they blend together, you can use yet another noise map. So if we preview that on the terrain, the green area should be where we're adding this noise, and the red area should be the Voronoi. And the error I'm making here is that I haven't changed that to mix. I've instead tried to add the noise on top of the Voronoi, so there's tons of different ways to mix these things together as well. I haven't done any planet creation for a little while, so forgive my speed. And then of course with this noise here we're using to blend these two together, we can make this size far bigger or far smaller so that there's a more gradual blend, or you can, you know, so this will create large areas of flowing noise and then large areas of the Voronoi one, and then that's blending currently quite smoothly, but we can also adjust how that works as well by using a curve. And if I preview this on the terrain, so here we can see that hard edge being created. So if we want, we can just make it super obvious where those two blend together, which I might just do because this is just kind of a, you know, an example sort of video. And before we just jump on this, I've just got to create this other, this thing is for placing the textures properly. Okay, for some reason it didn't save properly the first time, and I'm just going to make this just a little bit more obviously different. And again, just creating quite a hard edge line so you can see the difference there. So that's pretty obvious, I think. And let's see if we have a bit more luck this time. Just going to debug key us down onto the surface. And this, if you've seen any footage of the game, looks pretty familiar. I actually created the very first part of Exo One's first planet to look a lot like this to help with just learning the gravity mechanics. And here we have the Voronoi stuff, so you can see that very obvious blend between those two different types of noise. And in a properly kind of set up terrain, this would be you know, two different biomes. You might have different looking texture maps on both and different types of plants and stuff like that. And here we are back again at the rolling hills. So hopefully that gives you a bit of an idea of how the procedural generation system works. You get you can see like this has only taken a few minutes to throw this together, and it really looks you know, it looks quite good, and you get quite good results like really quick. but I suppose the thing that takes the longest is just trying to get the right level of frequency for different biomes, so that there's not sort of too much of one or not enough of the other, and just also spending quite a lot of time trying to blend the two together so that the player keeps encountering new situations. For Exo One, it's not super critical that every area looks totally different, because a lot of it's just that feeling of nailing like jump after jump and just getting in that zone of like flowing across the terrain. So it's not super important to have, you know, wildly different terrain as you move across the landscape, but I still do spend heaps of time changing that, because obviously I don't want players kind of feeling like they're on, like being, you know, going somewhere they've already been before, or you know, it can also pull people out of the experience a little bit if they feel that it's repetitive or something like that. So anyways, hopefully you found that interesting, and it gave you a bit of insight into how I make the planets. And this Voronoi, kind of these shapes here are what I'm thinking will most likely feature in, if not the next tidally locked world, then definitely one of the next ones after that. I think it looks really cool, and it feels like fun to move across, and yeah. So thanks for watching, and look forward to bringing you the next update. Thanks again for backing Exo One on Kickstarter, and please do feel free to share the project with any friends or you know, press or communities online that you think would like the game. Thanks very much. Bye.